Hey, welcome everyone to the 8th annual Casco Bay Island Swim Run. And this year it is an ÖTILLÖ swim run, which is awesome. It's going to be our second ÖTILLÖ branded event here in North America. We merged with the global leaders in swim run ÖTILLÖ last year. And so this is ÖTILLÖ Whistler was our first event with the new branding, and ÖTILLÖ Casco Bay is our second. So we're really excited about that. Uh, I think mostly we're excited to get a real Casco Bay back under our belts. For those of you who were with us last year, that pesky fog just didn't let us have that race day that we wanted. But we're ready to get going back with the same course that we had scheduled for last year, with a start on Chabig for the long course, start on Great Diamond, and for the short course and experience, and then finishes on Peaks Island. So excited to have everyone back. This is really, in many ways, the kickoff to swim run here in North America. Yes, we have had Whistler under our belt, but this is the big daddy for us here to get going with this summer. I'm joined by Aaron Pallian, who is our operations director and our series race director, and then John Stevens, who is a three-time Casco Bay champion with his teammate Matt Hurley, and has been our local race director for the last couple of years. We're going to go through the schedule with you guys, and we're also then going to tap into John's course knowledge with some race course briefings. But just to give you a little bit of an idea of what you're in for, ÖTILLÖ started about 15 years ago off of a beer bet. And the way that it started was a set of brothers and a set of friends traveled the Stockholm archipelago as a team of two, raced from one bar to another bar 26 islands later. The loser had to pick up the tab for the winners. And so swim run is really a team event at its core. It was brought to the U.S. for the first time at Casco Bay by my partner Jeff Cole, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But we do refer to this race as the Cole Classic in remembrance of Jeff and his Cole family for really just igniting the fire for swim run here in North America. So it's really fun to have Casco Bay as kind of the birthplace of swim run here in North America. It's really what makes this event special for us. And so yeah, what has started out as racing as teams of two now also has an individual or a solo component to it as well. ÖTILLÖ also has both of a World Series distance, which is the long course, a sprint distance, which is what used to be the short course, and now an experience event, which is really for those who are kind of testing out swim run for the very first time. So that's a new event for us, and that's going to be a very fun course as well. But let's kick it over to Aaron so he can walk through our race schedule for the week, and then we're excited to go through the course and get into the meat and potatoes of things.
All right.
Aaron, go ahead.
Thanks, Lars. We're looking forward to seeing all you guys. This is pretty simple. This race has been kind of on the same schedule for a few years here. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone. You guys can see it, right? Okay. All right, guys. So we're on a new website too. For those of you that have raced with us before, you'll notice that over the past couple months, really right around Whistler, we changed websites. Finally got everything over to this one, shut down the old one. So the central hub is the ÖTILLÖ website for both North America and for Europe. All the races are here. So ÖTILLÖswimrun.com. It's real simple. Races. And I'm saying this because we're still getting people that are trying to get to the old site and they can't find things. So just ÖTILLÖswimrun.com. And then here, just find the race. The U.S. races, as you can see, are marked with the USA at the end. And we're going to go to Casco Bay for this one. Now, at the top, there's these three sections which highlight the specific distances. Within here, you'll find the course maps and you'll find the schedule that's really the same for the whole event, with the exception of two things. It'll show you the packet pickup schedule for that exact distance, and it'll show you the ferry loading the morning of the race for that distance, because those distances do have different times for those. But before we skip to that, I want to show you where all the other information is if you haven't found it already. So you can scroll all the way down, or you can click this button here that says overall Casco Bay race info. This will bounce you down to the bottom of the page. This is at the bottom. And this is just an accordion that shows the awards, course cutoff times. So I'm going to go through this real quick. Anything that's pertinent to what we're talking about that needs to be gone over, I will expand. The rest I'll just mention and we'll move on. Awards, you can check that out yourself. Course cutoff times, important addresses. Now, on the important addresses, there's everything here that you need to know. If you click on it, map directions, it'll show you exactly where that is on a Google map, and you can click to get directions from wherever you're at to there. It's very convenient there. So that's self-explanatory. You can look through there. Weather protocols, mandatory race briefing right now, it's 2023, but by the time you read this, that should say 2024 on it with this new briefing we're recording as we speak. Mandatory gear. There have been quite a few emails. We are getting new athletes that haven't read some of this. You guys need to make sure you look over the mandatory gear. Some of it we provide, like the swim cap. You're going to get a silicone swim cap that's color coded to your distance. We give you that. You keep that. Number bib. It's one size fits all. Some of you, it'll be a little tighter than others, but it does get bigger when the water hits it. So don't worry about that. It's meant to be tight, so it's not slowing you down in the water. You'll get that at packet pickup. Every single person gets one. The number on it is purely cosmetic, but that is going to be linked to your name. Teams have matching numbers, and Solo has their own number. Those numbers will be assigned to a timing chip that you get later on in packet pickup. That timing chip will have a number. It will not be the same as what's on your bib, but we will link them up. We'll need to know your bib that you got assigned when you go to get your timing chip. Our timer, Tony, will be there. He'll give you the chip and he'll link those two things together. One timing chip per team and one timing chip per solo. The person that carries the chip on the team doesn't really matter because you're going to be doing the race together and you're going to cross the line together. We'll get a little more into that later on. So you're going to get that number bib. We do, as of now, need that back at the end. That's a little different from past years, but we're going to collect those at the end. We wash them really well and we sort them back out and we reuse, since most people don't care about keeping those anyway. So make sure you return your number bib jersey at the end. There'll be buckets there for that. There'll also be buckets if you rent a wetsuit to put your wetsuit in. Further down the list here is what we call a rest tube. Those are automatically inflating. They're like little fanny packs you wear around your waist. That is only given to the solo athletes. Since the team, you can be tethered together, but for the most part, you're close together. Even if you're not tethered, you're looking out for each other. The solo athletes, we give you a rest tube that you wear around your waist. It is not inflated. It's not like those pills that are pulled behind you that are inflated all the time. This is just tucks onto your waist. If you get in trouble out there and you need for some assistance and you need to be recognized, there is a big inflatable buoy that auto inflates when you pull on the ripcord. There's also a whistle on that ripcord. So when you pull it, it auto inflates. You hold on to that thing. You can wave your arms. It's bright yellow. We can see it. If you inflate that, then your day is over, but there's an obvious reason you inflated that thing. So those are free rentals we give out to all solo athletes. We need those back at the end as well. There's buckets for those at the end. You can turn those in with wetsuits that are rented and those number bibs. You're going to get a timing chip, like I mentioned, with an ankle strap. Those both need to be returned at the end as well. The ankle strap and the timing chip. Those are free to give you to use during the event. We need them back. The things that you provide that are mandatory, you have to have shoes on. We get asked what kind of shoes all the time. As long as they're really grippy trail shoes of some kind, we prefer, or you're going to prefer, that they're lightweight and that they drain well. But really anything you wear is okay. Just make sure they're nice and grippy, because there's rock scrambles and there's all kinds of areas you get out where there's kelp and things that are slippery. We don't want you falling. On top of that, you do have to have a wetsuit. Most of you guys already have one, but we do have a fair amount of rentals. I think we're almost sold out. Those rentals, if you still need one, can be added to your registration after the fact. And there's a section down here that I'll skip to real quick that's called rental wetsuits. You can see. If you click on that, it tells you how to do it, where it's located. And if you need to add it back on and pay for it after your registration, you can click here for a tutorial that shows you how to do that. We give you nearly full access to your registration through Run Sign Up. We want you to take hold of that. You can change questions that were answered. You can change the size of your giveaway item, which is a hoodie that we're giving you. You can change a lot of things. You can even defer your race entry, and I'll get to that in a second. You have to have a compression bandage. If it has to be waterproof, you can keep it on you. You can put it in a plastic bag. Some of them, if you click here, it'll show you how to use it. But if you click here, it'll show you there's some you can. I think you might still be able to order it and get it in time. But make sure that's waterproof when you put it on yourself and carry with you. Carry a tether with you. It is not mandatory. If the weather gets bad or visibility goes down, or you start to separate on your own during the swim, you are going to need to tether. We expect that if you continuously separate on that swim and you're waiting on shore for your teammate, that you take it upon yourself to tether because you are meant to stay together. It is a safety protocol as well as being fair to everybody else. But most of the time, the tethers are completely up to you. If we implement that they are to be used and mandatory, we will let you know either before or during the race if that happens. Okay, that's the mandatory gear. We do not check that, but it is easy to tell if you don't have most of those things during the race. So we could run an impromptu check at any time during the race. If you don't have them, you will be disqualified. So make sure that you have those. We expect everyone to play by the rules, and you're all adults. You know what to do. Packet pickup. Let's get back to that because that and the race morning schedule is where I'm going to end. So travel to the race shows the closest airport accommodations. You guys should have already taken care of that, I think. Race site, let's see, on site, here we go. So this here, if you click it, it will pop up a map that shows you in the legend here. I have marked all of the important areas: the finish line, packet pickup, where to load the ferries, the spectator boat, World Series start, sprint experience start, and the clinic that Team Envol, Marcus and Trista are leading that. That's happening on Saturday morning. I put in where that is as well because we get questions on that. That is not officially sanctioned by us or run by us, but we do appreciate them doing that. So we do kind of help them spread the word, and I like to put that on the map so you know where.
And Aaron, I'm going to jump in, and while we're on that topic, so we don't come back to that topic, that had about 65 people at it last year. Absolutely something that you should go and do if you're trying swim run for the first time. The experience and the wisdom that these guys have, I think Marcus has done every single Casco Bay. Not only that, though, the experience having trained with Swedish athletes, that they are going to give you so many pointers. Your race day experience will be so much better. Highly, highly recommend you attending that clinic on Saturday.
And something that's great, if you rented a wetsuit from us during registration, we always get questions, can I get my wetsuit if I'm going to the clinic? Can I get it early? We have partnered with them to grab those wetsuits from us early. And if you're doing their clinic and you rented one, they will have the entire container of wetsuits with them on site. They can check your wetsuit out to you. You'll still turn it in at the finish, same as I previously mentioned, but you will have that ahead of time. And then for those that aren't doing the clinic, we will have those back in time to hand them out at packet pickup. So we really appreciate them doing that. And while you're out there, thank them for all that they do. There's a section on here about Jeff Cole. He is the original founder with Lars that Lars mentioned, the Cole Classic and all that he put into this race to begin with. So take the time to read through that for sure. Rental wetsuits, the rules, read through those guys. It's your responsibility to know those. Information on the spectator boat. Volunteers, we still need volunteers. We're doing pretty good. But if you know anyone that has a boat or wants to, or has a kayak in the area, if you're local, we still have a few of those positions to fill as well. And some information on water stops. Every water stop will have a cooler of water and a cooler of water mixed with electrolytes, pH. Lars, that's the 1,000 count, right? Those tabs.
Yeah, so precision hydration, for those of you who haven't done a swim run before, we've been working with precision hydration for 7 years on our courses here in North America. There are 1,000 tabs that we put into the coolers. So it's not calories, but it is electrolytes. We also use the precision hydration gels out on the course, which I think are 30 grams of carbohydrate per gel. And so, a lot of you have been probably training with pH in their gels. for a bit now, or if you've done our courses, you're familiar with those. But yeah, it's the pH 1000 tabs in the coolers, and then the pH gels for energy.
So guys, just while we're on water stops, so we don't have to come back to that, just to mention in general, when you hit a water stop, there may or may not be someone there. There's a plan to have someone there, but they're fairly easy for you to just serve yourself. The water, the pH coolers, there will be a clear container that has gels in it. The gels are not meant for you to stock up on. There's not enough gels at every single one for every single person to have one at every stop. We've never needed that. We've had a ton left over. So if you don't need a gel, don't take one. And if you do take one, just take one. Don't load up. If you take it and you don't have it right there at the stop, then make sure that any trash you have, you keep on you until the next stop where you can throw it out. We want to leave the course better than we found it. If we start trashing the course, we won't be welcome back. So there's absolutely no tolerance for littering at all. At each water stop, in addition to the gels, I put in the container with the gels, there's a trash bag that should be out. Look for that to throw anything out. There's also, it is a cupless race. We do not include the silicone collapsible cup anymore because most of you guys have one of those and you bring it with you, or you have a flask with you. We do have those collapsible cups and you are welcome to one for free. We will have a stack of those to the side during packet pickup, but we are not putting them in every packet. So if you need one, be on the lookout for those. They'll be near where you get the bag from me or from Christine or JR at packet pickup. But Lars, can you? I muted you, Lars. In addition to that, for sale, we have flasks. They're big, they're normal size flasks. You can purchase those. They're affordable. We have a whole bunch of them. Those are a great way to stock up on fluids in between stations and carry those with you. It carries a lot and it's completely closed off, whereas a cup you can only use at the water stop. And then I did put in extra cups, extra swim caps, things you may lose or that break during the race. There will be some of those in every water stop bin, just in case you find yourself in need of those. We haven't always had those in the past, so we'll look for those. And that's it as far as water stops that I can think of. I'm going to go back up, guys, to packet pickup now. Okay. Packet pickup is the day before. It's at Holiday Inn where we've had it a number of the years. Last year we had it at Holiday Inn. The difference this year with it being there is that it's on the second floor, not the main floor. So second floor at the Holiday Inn, Portland by the Bay. You'll take the elevator or the stairs up. You'll see us up there. You're going to come in. The time for that, Sprint and Experience is from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. World Series is from 2 to 3. And then from 3 to 4, if you couldn't make your specific time, 3 to 4 is when you should come if you just can't make your assigned time. If you have a lot of questions, we would prefer 3 to 4 is when you come back to ask those. But if you're in line and it's not super busy, we're more than happy to answer questions, go over things with you. We'll have some people wander in the crowd that have done the race a lot that can help you out with that as well. If you have questions about anything else, you can email me ahead of time and I will hook you up with an answer there. You do have to pick up your packet at Holiday Inn. The only exception to that is if you go in and do an add-on to your registration and pay a small fee to have your packet ready for you on race morning. Whether you're solo or team, every individual person has to register for that. So if you're on a team and you go register for race morning packet pickup for yourself, that didn't complete that for your team, your teammate must do the same. Not only is that the rule, but it helps us streamline that when we're pre-stuffing those packets for that morning. Otherwise, we have to wonder where the other half is and what they're doing. So make sure if one of you does it for the team, you both do it. Now, that's not really necessary. If one of you can make packet pickup, we now can hand out your packet to one of you for the whole team. If neither of you can make it and you want a family or friend to do that, as long as they have a copy of your ID, a government issued photo ID, and permission for you to do that, then by all means you can. An easier way, we send out, you already got one on Monday, you'll get another reminder that's identical on Saturday morning. We send out a packet pickup email that has a QR code in it. That QR code is assigned especially to your registration, yours, not your teammates, but yours. So when you come, use that, and we don't need to see the ID because it doesn't, even if you forward that along, it's going to be linked to you. So we know that's yours. If you're picking up for someone else, just get that from them and we'll know that that's theirs and you're picking up for them. So use that QR code. Let me go down the list here. Sorry, guys. If you don't have it, we can use IDs. It just is a little slower, especially if there's a line. Realize, guys, because a lot of you are staying at the Holiday Inn, this is the one race where everyone kind of stays on site and the line can be quite a bit longer because everyone just comes from 1 to 2. So we really hope you guys will adhere to your assigned time or that line's going to be longer than it has to be. Okay. So try to come when we ask you guys to come. If you're picking up your race packet race morning, we will have everything pre-stuffed in a bag with your name written on it. If you're a team, we will have your individual names and or your team name written on the bag, stapled together kind of deal, or maybe it's one bag with everything, but it's all in there, including your rental wetsuit if you rented one. So everything's in there, timing chip, all of that. And we'll get to race morning in just a second and when you actually go to pick that up, but that will be on the docks ready for you to pick up race morning if you do that ahead of time. Packet pickup items, you're going to get your apparel item, which is a pullover long sleeve hoodie. You'll get your swim cap, you'll get a collapsible cup, but again, only if you grab that yourself. The number bib, which I assign there, we don't pre-assign those, we give you your number there. Maroon bibs are for World Series, orange bibs are for sprint, and purple bibs are for experience. And the caps match in color to that. You do have to use our swim caps. Even if yours match color, we want our swim caps on your head. Timing chip and ankle strap, which again, you'll get, and those will be linked and assigned to your bib there. And the rest tube if you are solo, and your rental wetsuit if you need one, or if you rented one. All right, so that is it for packet pickup. I am going to skip forward. We went through everything at the bottom there. So let's say that I am World Series. So if you're a different distance, click on the other distances to see this, but this is race morning schedule here. On Sunday for World Series, you are to arrive and park by around 4 a.m. The earlier, the better. We start to board the ferry at 4:30. The ferry, as of now, takes off at 4:45 a.m. We will have your packets if you paid to get that ahead of time or to get that on race morning. We will have those ready starting at 4 a.m. Please do not show up at 4:30 when everyone's boarding, wanting to get your packet, wondering where to drop your dry clothes bag that you have. Show up early, 4 a.m., guys. Now, let me real quick skip back and just go over the 2 times. Sprint and experience are the same times. You guys go out on a boat together. It's the exact same place, Casco Bay lines for everybody. But instead, you guys, sprint and experience, are going to show up at 7 a.m. Same thing, show up 7 a.m., show up early. You'll start boarding at 7:45 a.m. and you will depart at 8 o'clock. Now, we don't know yet. The plan is to give you all your own tickets and you use those tickets to get on the boat. We are in the process of doing it maybe a little different. As far as you guys are concerned, the only thing that would be different though is that you would not need a ticket. You just get right on the boat. But come there assuming you're going to need a ticket, and we will let you know if you do not need one and you just board. That is the only difference for you guys. All right, so when you guys get there, in the past, we've had luggage carts for your dry clothes bags. You are allowed to use a dry clothes bag to put in stuff that's, I wouldn't put anything of value in there. We tell you not to put your phones, your keys, any of that, because we're not responsible for those. We don't watch them. We don't officially check them in or out. We've never had an issue of anything being stolen or lost or any of that, but again, not responsible for that. In the past, you've shown up, you put those on luggage carts on the docks, and we've put those onto a boat and got them to the finish. This year, I will have my truck and our new trailer there with us. So if you've done it in the past, instead of being on the dock side of Casco Bay lines, we will have the truck and trailer on the side that the car is pulling to board the ferry. It's just on the opposite side, same exact place towards the front there of the waterfront. That trailer will serve as the hub to hand out packets and to put your dry clothes bag on the trailer, because when the sprint and experience course boat leaves, we will put that boat onto the Peaks boat and drive it right up to the finish line at Lions Club on Peaks Island. So a lot better, a lot more convenient, but we're going to operate all of that out of the trailer. If any of that changes, we'll communicate that as need be, but that is the plan for now, guys. Is there anything that I missed, guys, as far as loading? We can talk about start times and all that.
Just one clarification. So the sprint racers, regardless of if you have a ticket or not, you do not need to purchase a ticket. So we will give you that ticket. You don't need to go to the Casco Bay Lines and purchase a ticket. It's going to be on our end. We're going to be issuing you, letting you know how to get on that boat.
All athletes,
Otherwise, Aaron, you nailed it.
yeah, all athletes, all volunteers, all staff get tickets or are just allowed on the boat. You do not have to purchase anything. Now,
The one addition this year, you'll also all be getting a band that will be your finish line meal. So if you are a spectator, if you're a World Series sprint or experience racer, you will be getting a band, and that will be your ticket for the post race meal. That'll be cut off when you go through the line to get your meal at the on Peaks at the end.
and to clarify, when Lars said spectator, he meant spectator boat. Those are that have pre-purchased tickets for the spectator boat. That is not all spectators.
Correct. Spectator
We,
package. Yeah.
so just to clarify on those orange bands, those should be at packet pickup. You will get those. We will either put them on you or watch you put them on right there. So you're to race in that, so we know you have it. Because without that, we cannot permit you to get a meal. So that's how the athletes will get those. Volunteers, they will be with your shirts. We'll hand that stuff to you as we check you in, whether it's there or on the course. And then as far as the spectator boat people, when you go to board the boat, that's when we check you in and give you your shirt. We will give you that wristband at that time. So when you have that band on, you're going to enter the line, and someone, whether it's us or whether it's the Lions Club people, someone in the front of the line will cut that off of you, and that's how you get your meal. And that is the only time you'll be permitted back into line. We just have to keep track of who goes through and who gets meals and things like that. So that's what that's for specifically.
The only thing I would add too, just about parking, it is Sunday. A little local knowledge, street parking is free. So before you go and pay $20, $30 for a day at some metered lot, if you can find a spot on the street, it's free for the day.
And I know most people were finding spots on the street, especially early. So, okay. So as far as once you leave the docks, so we're on the short course and experience page now. So I'll do that, and then we'll go to long course.
I'm not local, but I will just give you this little tidbit. So because you are arriving onto the finishing island, in this case by your own transportation, they're assuming that you got there by their boat, so that you do not have to buy a ticket when you go back to Portland at the finish line. You just get back on a boat. And those, I believe, you can check the Casco Bay Lines website. They should run about every hour on Sunday afternoon. So, don't be concerned if you finish near the front of the pack, mid pack, backpack. You're going to have a boat to get on to go back to Portland at the finish.
Yeah. So the athletes board the ferry experience and sprint at 7:45. The boat departs at 8. It will arrive 8:20-ish at Great Diamond, and then we'll do the anthem and announcements or whatever needs to be done at 8:25 out there. Lars or John will be out there doing that, and then the race begins at 8:30 there for you guys. So then if we, sorry guys, hold on. Gotta go back out. We jump over to World Series, which happens earlier. As stated before, the ferry departs at 4:45, very early. Your ride is about an hour to get out there to Shabig. The anthem and announcements will start at that starting line. Either John or Lars will be out there, or both. That'll be at 5:50, and then the race will begin at 6 a.m. way out there. So starting quite a bit before the sprint, and you guys will start merging together around the same time out in the Great Diamond area. So do you guys want to take over at this point? I think I've gone through everything that I go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So really quick, toilets. There are toilets at the Casco Bay Lines terminal. You know, when you start all the way backwards, hotel room first, then Casco Bay Terminal. Don't leave it to the boat, because those lines will get very, very long, and it's not a likely scenario that you're going to get there in time. So use those first two options first.
To
And
cut in
then,
real quick there, Lars, every year that I've been there running that, those bathrooms, guys, do not open until about 10 minutes before you board that boat, if that. So if you try to do your business before you get there, but you will have a very limited time to use those boats at the bathrooms at the terminal before you leave. Very limited.
and that's mostly going to be for the long course.
Yeah,
Short
for
course,
sure.
we'll have those open. Yeah, so here we go. Business in the front, party in the back. We're talking about the race course. This sucker is a beast. It's certainly our most mixed and the most variety of any course that we do. Each of these islands has their own unique character and vibe to them. John grew up out here on the islands. He's won the race a couple of times. We're just going to kick it straight over to him. He's going to walk you through some of the, you know, the course characteristics, and you know, whether certain portions are going to be swims or runs, and I'll interject as need be, but take it away, John.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I mean, with this being an ocean swim, one of the biggest factors that you're going to encounter on the day is going to be the tide. In this year, low tide is at, I believe, just after 4 a.m. High tide is around 10:30. So that means the tide will be outgoing just after the start of the long course, the longest race. So with that, taking it into account here, as we get started from Shabig, if we're starting with the long race here, that first swim sometimes is a little bit shallow on the backside of Shabig. This time around, that's going to be a pretty straightforward, pretty long swim across that little cove right through there. So you can expect to kind of be able to get in the water and swim around it. And in years past, if you've done it at low tide, you know it can be a little rocky, a lot of seaweed that you have to avoid. That should be pretty avoidable this time around. You'll be able to get right in and swim straight across there. So what is also labeled as swim 2 from Big Shabig to Little Shabig? That is a sandbar. And again, that's one of those in some years that has been a straight run. Some years it's been a straight swim. This year, it is going to be one of those years where it's a little bit more swim/wading than it is running. So you can expect to be anywhere from knee deep to chest deep going across that. But with that, you are going to have a pretty swift outgoing current, meaning that current's going to be running pretty quickly from your right to your left going across that sandbar. So you are a weaker swimmer, you're probably going to be better off trying to wade through that as opposed to trying to fight it in a swim. But there's obviously going to be a few portions where it's a little bit deeper, and you may need to just kind of buckle up and swim against the current there a little bit. Same goes for swim 3. Pretty strong outgoing tide. That looks like it is a shortish swim from Little Shabig to long, but with that current's going to be ripping right through there from your right to the left, and you're going to want to be aiming pretty far right, almost to where the cursor just was there, on the right about there. On the side of the beach, you're going to want to aim pretty high because that current's going to be ripping right through there that time of day. And again, you'll be able to take a look at the buoys, take a look at the boats to see what the current is doing and make those adjustments as you need to. Coming through pretty
John, yeah. For our folks coming in from Minnesota, Iowa, central US, what do you mean by look at the buoys?
Yep. So we've got a lot of lobster buoys in the bay. We've got a lot of channel markers, and there's going to be some boats on the mooring. So if you take a look at the way the water is moving around those stationary objects, those buoys, you'll get a good sense of from which direction the current is coming from. You'll also get a pretty good indication of as to how fast and how hard that current is moving. So if you see some pretty strong ripples going around a buoy, you can bet that water's moving pretty quickly. So be prepared for that as you get in, kind of maybe take a little bit of note of it and see. So where Aaron is now, the backside of Long Island, the cove swim, if you will, from the Nubble over to the sandbar, that's pretty tide protected. And in years past, if it's been a really low tide, it can get a little shallow in there. But again, on this day, given the time people are going to be heading across there, That should, again, be a pretty straightforward swim straight across, up and over the sandbar. Then you're out over to the rocky terrain of Vail Island. And as Lars loves to say, you can't win the race on Vail, but you certainly can lose it. So be careful walking around there. It's pretty technical, probably the most technical portion of the course, about 1 mile going around, just scrambling on the rocks. And you are 100% going to want to avoid going over the middle of that island where it's grassy. One, you'll get disqualified if we see you. It's not marked along this island, but you are expected to stay below the vegetation, and you're going to want to do that because that's all poison ivy, and you will highly regret that decision if you get into any of the vegetation on that island. You'll make your way around the island, swim back over to Long, then it's a straight shot over to the longest swim of the day. And so we'll be headed over to Cow Island here. And again, that current's going to be moving pretty strong from right to left. This is one that you could get caught up in, particularly right as you're leaving Long Island. That's where it's going to be the strongest. As you get about halfway across, you'll notice that the current kind of lets up a little bit. That doesn't mean it lets up completely, but you're going to see a little bit of ebb in there too. One cool thing I think is we've been seeing a ton of porpoises in the bay this summer. I think pretty much every time I've been out in the boat, particularly down in this area, you'll see a pair of porpoises swimming through. So who knows, you might get a little a nice friendly surprise from a pair of porpoises swimming up on you through there and making your way over to Cow Island. So Cow Island, if you've been in the race before, is a pretty unique island. That is a summer program for kids and off-season program called Ripple Effect. So you'll kind of be going through an old fort that they have adapted into a summer camp and leadership program, and kind of fun to run through that and check it out. At that point, we've got a short swim over to Diamond Cove. Again, just watch for the current a little bit through there. Could still be pushing pretty hard. And again, this time it would still be going from your right to your left. We'll make our way over to Great Diamond through the Diamond Cove portion of the island. Down around to the island side of Great Diamond. And this is where we are going to meet up with the other two courses. So Aaron, if you zoom in there a little bit, you can see the dock down on the right. Those are where the other two courses will begin. And they're going to go straight up that road right there. That road kind of hooks to the left. And then right there, it meets up with the longer race. So you'll connect there. And by this point, this sandbar between Little Diamond and Great Diamond, this is going to be a straight run for everybody. By that time in the day, that's going to be high and dry. So do not expect that to be a swim. You can expect to run right across that, right over to Little Diamond. Do a nice little loop through Little Diamond, kind of nice little view of Portland. And then we come to the exciting part of the day off of Little Diamond, which is the dock jump. And with the tides being what they are, that's going to make for a fun jump this year. So you're going to have a good drop, could be about 20 feet down from the top portion of that, if that's what you would like to do. If you are doing that, please, we encourage you to stop and look before you go. We don't want people jumping on top of other people, landing on top of other people. So just be aware that there might be someone else in the water. And also, as soon as you hit the water, don't sit there and high five your partner, get moving, get out of the way so you don't get jumped on. And also, hold on to your gear. We've seen a lot of yard sales coming off the end of that dock with people having buoys and paddles and caps and goggles flying all over the place. If you're doing one of the shorter races,
before you jump, untether.
100%. No tether jumping. Also, we encourage you, please, feet first. Also going through there. That's a horrible place to lose your goggles right at the start of the race. So make sure you're holding on to those. If you are not so inclined to do a big 20-foot jump off the dock into the ocean, there is a ramp down to a float, and you can simply plop 1 foot off the float into the water, same distance, swim over, just a little bit easier. So swim across over here. By this point, current shouldn't be too bad coming through over to Trefethen, which is TEA is a big building with a green roof. It's pretty easy to spot. You don't necessarily need to swim straight for that building. If you look down below where the line is there's a pretty long stretch of beach. You could swim straight over to that beach and then run your way up there. We just want you to get across as quickly and as safely as possible through that section.
Hey, John, 1 second.
Yep.
It brought up a good point. Do you guys want to talk real quick about how the courses are marked and what they should look for?
Yeah, sure. Lars, do you want to handle that one real quick?
Yeah. So the courses we use what we call guidance markers. Guidance markers are going to be about shin high orange survey flags this year. So those little flags that you would see in like construction zones or something like that. They will say ÖTILLÖ on them. They'll be orange with our ÖTILLÖ sticker on them, or ÖTILLÖ branding. You'll see those. You should see those every couple 100 yards out on the course. Usually it's from end of sight to as far as you can see, so that you know that you're passing in the right direction. When you get to major intersections, we'll use a coroplast yard sign that'll have a directional arrow which way we want you to go. We might possibly put more of those orange flags in clusters if we really want you to pay attention to a certain section. So whether that's a turn or a point where you might potentially be confused, we might cluster together a few orange markers together. But those orange markers on the bottom are a lot easier to be seen when you're running and just where you tend to look than what we found the markings hanging from the trees in the past were. Swim exits, you'll be swimming towards big 10-foot teardrop flags that'll say ÖTILLÖ on them. And you'll want to always look before you get into the water, identify where those signs are so that you can, or where those big banners are, so that you know where it is you're swimming to. If you jump in the water and then you try to find them, that can be a little disorienting. So just take the extra couple of seconds, extra minute to figure out what your path is going to be when you swim.
And Lars, you've been actually you put some, I know at Whistler at least, at the swim start, those yard signs, you put a couple directional on which way to swim too.
And we have started doing that. We've put a directional arrow just basically pointing, if you're going to swim straight ahead, we'll try to shift that arrow in the approximate direction that you should be swimming to that exit. So yeah, look for those. But here's the thing, folks. So we will have volunteers out there, but this is heads up racing. For those of you who are doing Swimrun for the first time, what that means is you're not going to have volunteers at turning points out on the course. It is entirely up to you and your teammate, or you, if you're a solo athlete, to identify where those course markings are, to follow the course that we have laid out. You can't rely on any volunteers out there, hey, turn left here, turn right there. It's all up to you. And we call it heads up racing. So yes, we understand. We've all done swim runs before, with the exception of Aaron, who's going to be doing his first swim run at Mackinac Island this upcoming year. And by the way, you can see that he's been training. He's lost about 80 pounds this past year, which is phenomenal. So Aaron will be experiencing Swimrun for the first time. He'll also have to experience heads up racing. But my point being, we understand the rigors of this event. We understand that you're probably tired out there. But part of this game is that you have to keep your head up, figure your way out through the course that we've laid out for you. So we've progressively gotten better and better at it every year, and modified how we've done it, to make it a better experience. So just, follow our course markings and you should be okay.
Back to you, John.
Okay, yeah, and that will get it especially tricky here on peaks as we head into the woods. People have experienced that before. There's some different ways to go, so you're going to want to be paying attention for sure as you kind of make your way through that trail. And don't rely on any which way it may have gone in years past. It's how we set it on the day. So we'll see where the trail is this summer and follow along with that through the woods there of peaks, coming out to the backside. That backside here, I will say, you're going to want to grab some water. We will have an aid station at the start of this run. You're going to get pretty toasty by this time of day in the woods there. It's, as of right now, looking to be a hot, sunny day. Yesterday, it was cool and rainy. It's been changing day to day, but if it is a hot, sunny day, you're going to be feeling really muggy through the woods there, and then you're going to be fully exposed in the sun coming out. So just something to keep in mind, making sure that you are, when you're going by these aid stations, making sure you are stocked up on water and electrolytes especially.
And to add to that, John, guys, these maps, we met before we recorded this morning, and we adjusted, we actually added a water stop, and we adjusted some of the positions of what you see on this here. So maybe if you're really concerned on exactly where those, if you don't care where they're at, you just trust that they're going to be there when you need them, then don't worry about it. But if you're the kind of person that really wants to know exactly where they're all at, I would say check this maybe Friday, And these should be adjusted and have them in the exact spot they'll be. They're not far off now, but they have some of them have been changed.
There's also enough, there's enough 3+ mile runs where I think you should really highly consider carrying a flask with you, which is like a collapsible water flask that can hold, 12 to 16 ounces of water. If you don't have one, we will sell those at the packet pickups. But, you just fill those up when you do come to an aid station before a long run. Just shove it down your kit or hold it in your hand when you're going throughout the event. That should get you through a 5K, no problem. But don't just simply rely on those cups, that you have, which you can only have at the aid stations.
Yep, absolutely. Good idea. All right, this brings us into the final kind of portion of the race where we have our nice little triangle here. So we'll be coming in, one of the things I always like to say is you look at the map in comparison, these swims don't look like much. These are 3 of the harder swims of the day. They're longer than you expect, especially once you get in there. Again, the current by this point, depending on how fast or slow you are, it's going to be pretty low tide, maybe slightly incoming tide. So tide is a little bit negligible. If you're facing it at all, it would be incoming. So at this point, it would be hitting you from the left, pushing you a little bit to the right. And I'm mostly going to touch on that on the last swim here in a minute. But we swim over from
real quick before you go. Remember the experience, Lars, correct me if I'm wrong, but experience leaves the same swim here. They swim around into the finish and eliminate all of this, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The experience is going to finish their event on peaks without going to Cushing and House. And you're going to swim around that point. There's like a little bit of a purple line that you can see right there, but it'll be marked better on the experience map. You're going to be swimming around the point. You're going to get out the same area where Sprint and World Series will finish.
So
But,
guys, when you start your swim here, there most likely will be a sign that says experience with an arrow and Sprint World Series with an arrow going this way. So just be aware of that.
And for the experience, that's going to be low tide. You're going to need to find yourself a little bit deeper out. You might actually have to go out further than you think to find swimmable water to make it around that point. So just keep that in mind that it is going to be pretty shallow in there with low tide. But there is swimmable water. Make your way out just a little bit, waist deep, and you should be good to go to make it around that point. But for everyone else heading over to Cushing, it's a pretty straight shot right over. Like I said, it's going to seem longer than it seems, particularly for the World Series as you're getting late in the race and you're getting a little bit tired. So that's a longer swim right there. And if anything, you'll have a current pushing you, particularly if you're later in the day, that current will be incoming at that point. So we'll be pushing you from the left to the right. So keeping that in mind. Nice little run on Cushing through the fort on the hill over there. Great support from the people. In years past, you've been serenaded by, guitarists in the woods in the grove and all kinds of fun stuff going on in there. And then you'll make your way over to Fortland, which is House Island. And the left side of that is all yurts. Pretty cool experience. That again is a longer swim than it seems. And then you will come on to the island there. You'll see our big Viking friend, Stefan, who may or may not have some sort of beer tent set up for people who may want to partake. Not sponsored by us. That is of their own. But a cool run through the fort there. Great views of the city as you come through the tunnel. You'll loop around. And you're going to want to run along the beach here quite a ways. And this is where we've run into some issues in the past, is the current, especially if you're coming across here, let's say 12 o'clock or later, is going to be really strong on this swim. And with that, it is going to be pushing you from the bottom of this screen to the top. It's going to be pushing you from the right to the left. And this is going to be a really big issue for us. So presumably, we would almost want you to get into the water sooner if you can. And we may have the entry point for that be closer to where Aaron's mouse is right now, as opposed to all the way up where it shows on the map. Because that current is pushing you so far from right to the left, just left of the finish area where you come out, that is the ferry dock where the ferry comes and goes. And if the current is pushing people into the path of that ferry, you will be pulled out of the water. We will need to pull you out of the water, take you in the boat closer to shore, and drop you in over there, because we cannot have athletes getting in the way of the ferry. It's a liability for them. It's a safety issue for you. So as you are doing this swim, again, particularly if we're talking in the 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock time frame, aim very far right. This current really comes through here fast. You're going to really want to aim far right as that buoy, as the finisher flag shows on the beach. And I would rather you swim and hit the rocks and then have to take a left and swim along the shore than pull you out of the water. So we really don't want to have to do that. Be very cognizant of the current, what it's doing. You're going to be tired. This is the end of the race. Really aim more into that current than you think you're going to need to. We really need to make sure that everyone stays over to the right on that swim.
And guys, John's being very nice and humble in the way he's saying this. This is a game over for us if we have athletes who are in the path of the fairy here. We have had this happen in the past, and they've given us the ultimatum. So, I mean, John, would you say even aim to that point on the bottom? I mean, just to give a non-current swimmer a visual. Like,
Yeah.
guys, we were talking extreme. Measure your effort in an extreme way to the south. You cannot cross that line. You'll be pulled. It's no questions asked. You're that close to the finish. Just aim south, please.
Yep. And we will, it'll be a no questions asked. When we say get in the boat type of situation. Yeah, and that takes us to the finish line on the beach, right up the stairs and right to the finish line. And there we go.
Yeah, probably the hilliest section of the entire course is that final, the final 20 stair steps to get up to the finishing straightaway there at the Lions Club, and it's an amazing achievement. You know, enjoy the celebration that's going to be there at the finish line. It's a beast of a course. I'm honored to be in the presence of John, who's won that race 3 times. John, where do you think you would finish in the field these days?
Right.
Toe the line.
I'll partner with Aaron. We'll do great.
So,
You can tell me through the water, John, and then I can tell you through the run.
And I think John would do just fine. He'd figure out a way to get himself into shape, and the locals' knowledge would be in his corner. So, a couple real quick specific instances. Aaron, if you can bring the map back up. So for long course athletes, World Series athletes, Big Shabig over to Little Shabig. When you're entering the water at Big Shabig, there are some nesting birds that you will need to pay particular attention. I mean, I guess just don't step on birds, please. So can we just all agree that we won't step on birds? Avoid eggs if you see them, etc. So that would mean, well, avoid the birds. So that's one section you need to pay a special mind to. The other is over at Great Diamond Island. When you're leaving Cal and getting onto Great Diamond Island, the private property that we previously had access to, that home has been sold. And so we need to pay particular attention when you're getting onto the beach there. There is a wood cinder trail that you'll need to follow, or sorry, a wood chip trail that you'll need to follow up onto the road. In the past, we've been able to deviate maybe onto the lawn a little bit. It'll be very well marked. Just don't deviate from where we want you to go once you get onto the beach there. Just take the straightest direct shot. And as all spots, Aaron did mention this, but we do need to reiterate, you are responsible for your own litter out on the course. Do not leave any wrappings behind, any litter behind. We understand that if you're reaching to the back of your wetsuit and you happen to have something fall when we understand that stuff happens, but if you are discarding litter out there on the course, we take that extremely seriously. If that's seen, you will be disqualified. You won't come to any of our events in the future. We want to be invited back to these communities. And for us, that means 0 trash left behind. We want to leave these courses off better than we found them. So we take that very, very seriously. Besides that, we want you guys to be great ambassadors for the sport of swim run. When you see Islanders out there, they're getting used to seeing you guys running around in wetsuits, but still, a year's passed, you're going to get some funny looks out there. What the heck are these, people running around in wetsuits doing? They're going to be excited to see you, be a great ambassador for the sport. Smile, wave, hello. Be friendly to them. It's the one chance a year that they get to see you and they're excited. So leave an impression on them as well. And just have a great day out there. The 3 of us will be out there on the course, whether it's in boats or on land. Aaron takes photos out there. We've got a media team who's going to be out there supporting with social media on our site. A couple of photographers out there, a great announcer. So yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event, and we're really looking forward to having you out there. I think, Aaron, there's going to be ÖTILLÖ merchandise at packet pickup and at the finish line. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely a packet pickup. Anything from shirts to hoodies to stickers, magnets, lots of stuff. And then we'll get as much of it out at post race as we can. We have a branded tent that'll be under. We do take cash, credit card, whatever. So yeah.
The I maybe it should go without saying, but we should say it. So you will have a safety perimeter established out there on the course when you're swimming with boats. We have the Coast Guard. We have extraction teams if stuff happens. To get you off the course. We do have a water safety team that's out there looking out for you on the course. Their main objective, yes, is to have eyes on you, but it is also to keep public boats from coming out onto the course. With that said, you do always have to pay attention to boats that are out there, especially on a beautiful sunny day. The bay is going to get pretty busy with boats. So always stay attentive to boats. If boats are idling out there at a slow pace or stationary, they're likely with our event. You'll see a banner that's on those boats. If a boat's moving at high speed and you get the sense that they're not stopping, you got to figure out a way to avoid them at all cost. I don't mean to be an alarmist, but you just got to keep that in the back of your head. You are in an active bay. The same is said for if you are on land and someone from our event tells you that the race has been paused or that you need to wait, whether it's for a ferry passing or what have you, you need to obey and take mind of what's being said from a race director or someone who's on our staff. Those orders would be given for a very specific reason. Otherwise, we won't impede your race. Aaron, cutoffs. We should quickly talk about cutoffs. I don't think we went through those.
And while you're pulling that up, Aaron, I had forgot to mention this before. I've received a few messages already asking about water temps. So for us in Maine, they're delightful this time of year. We're a little bit warmer than we're used to, but I would say water temp, you could expect it to be anywhere probably between 62 and 64.
Which is fantastic. For those of you who have not run around in a wetsuit before, especially on a hot summer day, that's going to be music to your ears with the water. So it'll keep you nice and cool, and but not too cold. The key is to just stay moving. So if you're moving in the water, great. Once you get up onto land, get your gels, get your water, but just keep on moving. Don't stay stationary for too long. Get that heart rate back up and start running again. The sport, it works. The flow of it works. You're going to heat up, you're going to cool off multiple times throughout the day. If you're coming from the triathlon world, don't look at the cooler water temps and think, oh, I'm going to be freezing. Starting the days off with a run, your body temp just gets cranking up. That cooler water is going to feel fantastic. So yeah, we're going to go through the timing checkpoints here quick.
Guys, the icons are a little off, but we'll show you where these are. The first cutoff is exiting long. That's at 9:30 a.m. and that only pertains to World Series, as that's not even part of the course for everybody else. So World Series 9:30, first cutoff here. Second cutoff pertains to everyone, but again, I mean, you just started the race if you're the other distances. So it's really World Series is 11 o'clock here. There's no way starting at 8:30, you're going to take that long to get there for short course or for sprint. And then the last cutoff is down here, and that's at 12 o'clock. That's at noon for everybody. Third and last cutoff at noon, exiting peaks.
Yep, and those are the situations where we're cleaning up the course as so that the islanders can get back to their daily routine. We have to clean up the course to start getting everything cleaned up, and we will have a staff or a volunteer who's there to with those cutoffs. And if you miss those cutoffs, that means you may not get in the water after that point. You won't have any safety that's there to protect you from with a safety perimeter. And again, similar with litter, you'll be disqualified from any future event of ours if you get in the water after you've missed a cutoff there.
Yep. All right, boys, anything else?
No, we're excited to see you this weekend. I think Aaron reiterated, if you have family who wants to join as a volunteer, we'd love to have them. I think the volunteer link is easy to find on the website. But yeah, we're extremely thankful to everyone, especially in the Portland area and on the islands, who come out and support us with kayaking and motorized boat help. We could not do this race without their support. So, just make sure to thank volunteers out there. It's really incredible what they do, and then we're impressed by what you guys do on race day. So go get them.
All right. See you guys soon.